first of all, on the personal level, for me, it's been very interesting. I've been traveling and working with this job for the last 33 years. And this is the first time I'm sitting in one place at home for over 30 days. And it's now, as you said, over 60, 70 days almost. I came back on the 2nd of March from the US, and since then I'm here. So for me, it's been a very interesting personal experience. On one hand, being home, and on the other hand, a routine that I'm not used to a routine. But we've been using the time. It's been extremely interesting from the Datatex point of view because we have offices and operations across the globe. So we have our Bangalore office in India. We have Milan, which is our development center, Italy. We have our support center in Israel, and this is where I'm located. We have our office in the USA. We have an office in Switzerland and an office in Germany. So we've been pretty global, and we've had the experience of looking at this crisis from a global point of view. So you said, what has been the impact? And this is very interesting. I'd say what we didn't do, which I think is the most important things. We did not let one person go. We were on a very big hiring, I'd say, campaign. Before this started, we slowed it down, and we could say actually we've not hired anybody new since, let's say, since April. In March, we were still hiring. So we're training some people, so we have some people in programs. And I'd say in all our offices, there was like 30 or 45 days that everybody worked from home. What we did, we didn't have to do a lot of measures because most of the people already had access to, let's say, home offices or what they call in Italy smart working. We did purchase additional equipment to, let's say, consultants that were new, etc., and did not have laptops or home connection. So everybody was working from home. And I'd say we very quickly, being global, it's easier for us, working with a solution which is totally web-based. We had the luxury, actually, of being able to continue the work. So we did take some expense-cutting measures. Of course, travel has been zeroed out, so there's no travel. That's a big expense cut for us. But we've turned around and looked at this crisis as an opportunity to improve our methodology. Today, I'd say we have a total methodology for remote implementation. Because we have a few areas of activity. Let's say the most interesting, or let's say the biggest challenge we had, which we turned into a big opportunity, I would say, is starting a totally new implementation remote. We had a customer, everything ready to go. 1st of March, Corona. 1st of April, we started totally remote. So that's from scratch, not knowing the people, consulting, not knowing the customer, not knowing their counterparts. We took it as the 1 month of a learning experience, and it worked well. So that was our first experience, and I'd say the most, I'd say extreme, because to start a new project, an ERP implementation is not it's not an easy or a side project. And we're very happy to say that we probably have a pretty good methodology pinned down to be able to start the next one, which we hope to start next week, actually. So this is very important. We continued all our support activities, seeing that anyway it's a remote and anyway it's web-based. People still fill in tickets, people still call the help desks and are getting support. Probably better hours because we don't have to travel backwards and forwards to the offices. So people are, I'd say availability of our teams has been bigger, that's for sure. So ongoing support. Interesting enough, we're always in a development mode because we have a development team of over 20, let's say, experts that are developing always the next generation based on technology, functionality, new production areas. And these teams have been working. Of course, The remote interaction makes it a little bit more difficult because there's a lot of interaction between the consultants, but that's been going well, and I'd say I've been reviewing the progress reports from the last few weeks. I'd say we're doing well there. So I'd say on all these aspects of implementation, supporting of existing customers, and the new developments, we didn't slow down. Let's say on the total, we're on the same level. We managed to pick up the first, I'd say, couple of weeks where we all learned to work remote, and it's been working well. In parallel, I think it's interesting, but I think that's a separate discussion. We've been working with the local, seeing that we have a few companies in different countries. We've learned pretty fast the local support given, and I have to say that in Switzerland and in the USA, we've been able to receive very, I'd say, let's call it helpful support from the government with a minimum amount of bureaucracy. In Switzerland, it was less than a day, from morning to evening, before we had the assistance in our bank. In the US, a few more days, but again, very fast, all remote. The US is to an extreme because they basically forgive a certain amount of the loan that was given on condition that all employees are kept and that salaries are not dropped, which was a very refreshing news for us. We didn't have any intention, but that basically helped us support through these few weeks before we could get up running again. Customer-wise, I would say we do have customers in various places, especially I'd say Asia Pacific, that could not continue. That means we did have some projects which stopped. India, I would say, was the hardest hit country from that point of view. Pakistan was the second because a lot of the team members do not have home working equipment. And some of the systems are not geared for this volume of, let's say, remote working. But I'd say it took time. We are now in the phases of restarting, I'd say, the last accounts. We hope to restart some large projects we started in Central America. Central America also had a very strict lockdown. If I'm speaking about Honduras and so forth, these places are also slowly coming down. Another very interesting phenomena that happened during this the last few weeks is some of our customers, I'd say about 5 or 6 of them, have gone into producing PPE. Now that was a very fast turnaround from not even knowing what this word PPE, personal protective equipment, was. We had customers who started producing masks and protective wear with very short notice. They had to start receiving orders, costing them, producing, scheduling, ordering some of the services, some outsourced, some raw material and so forth. The system can handle it because our system is flexible. So you can produce fiber, you can produce apparel and garments on the same system, same database. The opportunity basically is to be able to set up the system fast. Our consultants came into, again, all remote, and I'd say we have 4 customers where we took them from 0 in, I'd say, less than a fortnight to full production on the system, receiving orders via the web. Some of them are very large government orders in the US, and we were able to process them, I'd say, pretty successfully. Some of them are developing these markets now even more. Be it in Italy, it's more on the woven masks. In the US and Latin America, it's more on the non-woven masks. So that's a new opportunity for us. Now, the 2 questions that you're asking here is, how can we help the industry during these periods? I think what I've just said about the PPE part is a very interesting part, because with this system, you can change and even do a 180-degree turn in a very short period without writing code, without having new systems, buying new systems, etc. The same system can basically change the way you do business probably faster than you can change the machinery. or your business processes. You can also simulate and cost new business processes before they actually happen. And we saw it happening in front of us, some of it with our help, some of it people did it on their own. And this was exciting for us because, you know, one thing is to sell and say we can do this and that. The other thing is to see it, especially in a crisis situation, the way it's working. The other area is, you know, people speak today about Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence, etc., etc. Our systems have been there for many years. And today, having the ability to work remote, having the ability to connect the supply chain, suppliers, customers, managers, supervisors, to be able to connect via the net remotely is very important. Without, again, writing new code, buying new systems, and so forth. And this has proven a very big success for us. We also have a lot of new facilities or functionalities or modules that will actually help this new way of working. If we speak about mobile devices on the shop floor, preventive maintenance with mobile devices that people can run faster, that can help us, that can basically help the customers in a few ways. One way is, as I said, when they change their products, they have a system to support it. Another way is people today want to cut costs. Cutting costs you can do in two ways. One is to reduce your order entry team, for example, and systems can help you there, and we are geared for that, even though this is not our main objective, and usually this is not a system to eliminate team members, but to basically enhance their performance. But today, when people have to cut, this is a way. What we've noticed also is that people that had very large IT teams and IT support teams that are not really flexible because you can't send them home and rehire and so forth, are leaning more and more towards getting support from us rather than from local teams, which again, it's not great news for the teams. It's not something we like to do, but it's been helping our customers support their production business with systems which cost less and with a lower risk of maintaining them. So that's there. And on top of it, the new functions that we are supporting allow customers to be more flexible, because I think whichever way you look, people have to change the way they operate, either the business processes, the products themselves, the customers. Indian customers, for example, that we're exporting, I think we'll have to lean much more on the local market because imports will be reduced, so they'll be producing more locally. So I think there'll be a lot of changes both in products, customers, service to the customers, because lead times are going to be reduced, costs are going to change, the number, let's say the number of orders and the number of orders may increase, but the number of items and the volumes will decrease because people on the outside, let's say the customers of our customers, will want to reduce their risks seeing this situation. So we have the module and the system to support this type of new business with a very fast turnaround, changing not only products, but also business procedures and the technology itself that supports them. So I think all in all, we can help the industry. And we've been doing it in the last few weeks, and we've seen some very, very encouraging results. Period, I don't know, because I think nobody knows the impact and nobody knows the timelines of this crisis. And I think we learn, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but people are learning new things on a daily basis. So this is something I don't even want to risk answering. But one thing is clear, the industry is going to change. Strong companies will stay on, that's for sure. They always survive the crisis. But as I said, market will change, the products will have to change, and the way of doing business will change. I think China as a main player may change. I see a big change there because I think people have learned that a crisis in China can basically stop production lines because, you know, they're missing a button. You know, there's an accessory bought from China, the whole production line can stop. So I think a lot of it, being on the optimistic side, is going to change. Another thing that I think, and I've been reading about it, will change is the fast fashion. I think fast fashion has its limitations anyway, looking at the environment effects. I think fast fashions will change the way and will become slow. That means not 12 collections a year and not so many changes of products and product lines. They'll be more solid. So I'm not sure we'll go to 2 collections, but perhaps 4 or 5 collections a year. And I think the big producers will go even less. That will give more stability to the market on one hand, but will be easier to control and come back to the volumes they had before. But again, I think products will change, markets will change, people producing for export will have to work more for local markets, perhaps the other way around also, and the way of managing the business, because I think requirements of quality and cost and customer service are going to basically take a new paradigm, because I don't think these large orders are going to be repeated. There'll be smaller orders, which much faster lead times, because people are not going to risk carrying stock. I think one of the things that some of the big chains learned, that carrying a lot of stock and ordering very far ahead is a problem. And especially with the fast fashion, that you're now stuck with stock that you can't even sell because it's out of season. So there'll be a lot of changes there. These changes will have a lot of impact on systems, because people that are working with a system for years has been adapted to the way they work today. This will have to change. So let's say for Datatex, we see a very big opportunity going forward. For the industry, I don't think the industry is going away very pretty soon. It will change. There'll be a lot of change. There'll be more, I'd say there'll be more need for systems, digital systems. This whole paradigm of Industry 4.0 is going to take a much more realistic view, because people will want to rely less on people and more on technology where possible. It's not always possible, but where possible, people will want to rely more on technology and be able to produce even during a crisis periods like today.